and welcome to Business Incorporated. Thank you for joining us. I am Bolaji Akinwale. This week on the program, we will bring you some of the interviews that you may have watched as part of our review of the economy for 2014. On our headlines, the Securities and Exchange Commission has postponed the recapitalization of market operators by 9 months. Creditors owed about 300 billion naira by the Nigerian Telecommunications Limited will have to share the $252 million, that's an equivalent to 45.36 billion naira, that was offered by the prospective investor in the company and its mobile subsidiary, the Nigerian Mobile Telecommunications Limited. According to reports, because the proceeds from the sale of Nitel and MTEL would not be enough to settle the creditors of the companies, the National Council on Privatization approved guided liquidation as the best system for the latest effort at privatizing the firms. The federal government is said to have settled the workers through a negotiated 5-year pension buyout plan. The creditors of the beleaguered telecommunications firms form a significant percentage of the Committee of Inspection appointed by the court to work with the liquidator. They have been representing the interests of the creditors in the transaction process. The Debts Management Office is also represented in the committee. Following the disqualification of NETAG Consortium, one of the two companies that bid for Nitel, as a result of its failure to provide a bid bond, only the financial bid of NATCOM Consortium qualified for the opening on December 3rd. Accordingly, the financial proposal of NATCOM was publicly opened and the consortium won with a bid price of $252.25 million. The federal government has extended the execution of the capital component of the 2014 budget by 3 months from the initial end date of December 31st, 2014 to the last day of March 2015. The extension became imperative owing to the latest passage of the fiscal documents by the National Assembly. The Senate had on April 9, 2014 passed the budget, raising the amount in the fiscal document from the 4.642 trillion naira submitted by President Goodluck Jonathan to the National Assembly to 4.695 trillion naira. Highlights of the 2014 budget is passed by the legislature and signed by the President are statutory transfers of 408.6 billion naira, debt servicing 712 billion naira, recurrent expenditure of 2.454 trillion naira, capital expenditure of 1.119 trillion naira, and aggregate expenditure of 4.695 trillion naira. The lawmakers had tinkered with the original budget proposal, raising the recurrent expenditure from the original 2.43 trillion naira submitted by the executive to 2.454 trillion naira. Oil prices stumbled below $58 per barrel during the week. Oil prices have been in steep decline since June as a result of slow demand growth and the United States shale oil boom, which has increased supply. Global benchmark slumped to $57.47, while the U.S. benchmark West Texas Intermediate crude plunged to $53.61 a barrel following the Brent downward. The price of OPEC basket of 12 crudes, which include Nigeria's Bonilite, stood at $54.44 per barrel compared to $56.03 last Wednesday. Experts believe that oil prices could hit $50 per barrel in 2015, and the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries may have to deal with the challenge. The federal government had based its 4.5 trillion naira 2014 budget on a benchmark oil price of $77.50 per barrel, but oil prices had in November fallen below the benchmark, denying the country accretion to the excess crude account. The continued slide in oil prices has forced the government to adjust the benchmark price for the 2015 budget twice, from $78 to $73, and recently to $65 per barrel. 2014 was an eventful year. Let's bring you some of the interviews shown during the program.
GIVMIS, which is an acronym for Government Integrated Financial Management Information System, is simply put a public financial management reform program. The significant part of which is a treasury single account. The purpose is basically for efficient cash management policy of government. I mean, all other things are secondary to this, but the central theme is that government should have an efficient and transparent cash management system. So, and that's the purpose for which GIVMIS is established: good governance, transparency, accountability.
GIVMIS has been operational in Abuja. Could you tell us what is the level of success?
We are in Abuja. All the ministries in Abuja are already on GIVMIS, and by our phasing formula, 2014 is the date we have set for agencies outside Abuja. But the level of impact in Abuja is so tremendous that payments are made on a real-time basis, and the reports are generated automatically, and the impact is very, very significant.
In specific terms, what impact has this really made in Abuja, making reference to specific MDAs, for instance?
Well, call it experiment, but from our performance in Abuja, we've had the GIVMIS system has made it possible for agencies to access their funds directly. Once there's a budgetary provision for an agency of government, for example, the money is put on TSA, and then agencies have immediate access to it. They don't need to wait for any cash backing or any of those manual things that are always causing delay. So the impact has been very, very useful in that people have immediate access to their fund once there's a cash backing. And the concept of cash backing again has a little bit been modified in the sense that gone were the days when there will be releases and then people will still be waiting for money. What the Office of the Accountant General does is that our cash plan is based on available fund. Once we know the fund that is available for government generally, then we do a cash plan that is consistent with that. And immediately we do that, we release to budget office, and then budget office, in conjunction with us, we just appropriate the money to the agencies. So there's no anxiety of I have releases, I don't have cash backing. Cash backing and cash releases have been collapsed into a congruent term.
What other government ministries or parties are involved in this GIVMIS?
Major parties are situated in Ministry of Finance. You have the Budget Office of the Federation, then you have the Office of the Accountant General. As a pay, the CBN also plays a very crucial role in the payment system. They are the payment gate through which the GIVMIS is effectively transmitted to the agencies.
In what ways can this system curb corruption in the country?
The GIVMIS is what we call a system that makes everybody involved to be held accountable. The person who initiates a payment, the person who reviews it, the person who approves it, everybody is documented in a system that is checkable, and then at every point in time, anybody that is involved in a transaction is establishable and identifiable.
What level of relationships do you have with other professional bodies in the country?
We have stretched a hand of fellowship to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Chidi Ajegbu is an associate. We expect that before the end of the year we'll be a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers because it's past the minimum period required for that conversion. But we're quite excited about the fact that the stockbroker is the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, and we are quite confident that under his leadership The relationship between ICANN and the Chartered Institute of Top Brokers will be heavily reinforced, and there are a number of things that we're going to do together with regards to strengthening the financial system and making the country take very strategic steps that will open up closed economic spaces across the country.
Let's look at the state of liquidity in the market. I know that last year, liquidity or illiquidity, as the case may be, was a challenge for market operators. From that time to now, in the second quarter of 2014, what is the situation like?
We have a new CBN governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. The leadership of the Chartered Institute of Top Brokers will be engaging him and his colleagues on issues to do with margin loans, issues to do with the entire capital formation process. We are quite excited about his new direction around development. And development can take place without capital formation. So we expect that the CBN governor, working with the Minister of Finance, will take steps that will make liquidity